If the Detroit Lions make these handful of moves in free agency that we're going to outline today, it's the most realistically perfect free agency that they could possibly do. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Mike Payton from A to Z Sports Detroit. Today, we are going to talk about 7 free agents that if the Lions signed, we over here at A to Z Sports Detroit think that this would be the most realistically perfect free agency period offseason that the Lions could possibly have. We're going to jump right into it. We'll start off with Khalil Mack. Now, obviously, the Lions want a premier pass rusher. They've made phone calls on Max Crosby. They've made phone calls on Myles Garrett. They have been looking for someone opposite Aiden Hutchinson. While Zadarius Smith is really good, he's not that guy per se. Like, he's going to be good for the Lions, but he's more of a, rotational guy, if anything. Mack is a premier edge rusher that the Lions do not have to pay him a ton of money to. You can get him on like a 2-year contract. $45 million would be the projected amount. That's not a lot. You could probably work that contract in such a way where you have an out after this season. You don't have to give away draft picks. You don't have to completely threaten your ability to retain Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, some of the guys that you really want to keep. This would be the best way to go in terms of getting a premier edge rusher. The next guy on the list is New York Giants edge rusher Azeez Ojulari. This is a guy that had a really good start to his career in New York, and then they drafted Kayvon Thibodeau. They traded for Brian Burns, and they sort of pushed him down the depth chart, but he still was able to get out there, get sacks for New York. He can get after the quarterback. And in Detroit, he would be a depth guy, but that's fine. You want guys that can come off the bench, especially if injuries happen, who can get to the quarterback. This is a guy who can do it. And again, not going to be super expensive. We're talking a 2-year deal worth $10 million. The next guy is cornerback Paulson Adebo. This is a guy, Lions fans have been talking about this dude a lot. Like, every time I'm on Twitter and I'm talking about free agency, there's somebody who's asking about Paulson Adebo. That's because this guy's a ball hawk. He could be your cornerback one immediately. Carlton Davis is somebody I know Lions fans probably want to keep, but the reality is that he's probably going to get a big money offer somewhere else. And here's an opportunity for the Lions to get someone a lot cheaper, considering, Davis will probably get $45 million. Adebo's going to get $33.75 million. That's significantly less. He's also 3 years younger, 4 years younger. Just a better way to go all the way around. Good corner, can get up there, break up passes. We mentioned again, ball hawk. Definitely somebody that the Lions would love to have. And then there's Darius Slay. Look, he wants to play for Detroit. He wants to play another year in the NFL. The Lions need depth at corner. It just makes too much sense. And it's not like Slay is a bad corner now. This guy had 17 pass breakups last year. Like, that's very good. Obviously, he's not the all-pro that he was in Detroit, and that's fine. But if you're getting him on a 1-year, $7 million deal, he's just invaluable to have. And you can have him and Adebo plus Arnold, Amik Robertson, Kendall Vildor. Like, that's a really good cornerback group. Plus, you draft somebody maybe. Like, that's just incredible. That's what you want out of this free agency. You want to stack players on top of players. The next guy is guard Brandon Sheriff. Now, this is kind of like my dream idea a little bit. I think that, first off, the Lions need to keep Kevin Zeitler. In this scenario, they would keep Kevin Zeitler as well. But Graham Glasgow is struggling. He's having a lot of trouble. Maybe you move him to the bench, and maybe you don't think Christian Mahogany is quite ready yet, because remember, he didn't play the full season last year. While he came on late, and while he did look good, he did not play the whole year. And we don't really know what that's going to look like, so let him marinate one more year. You get Brandon Sheriff, you get Kevin Zeitler on the inside of this offensive line, and suddenly the best offensive line in football becomes the greatest offensive line in football maybe ever. Like, this group together would be insane. And at 2 years, $13 million, that's an investment worth making to protect Jared Goff, to continue to have a strong run game. You got to do it. I mean, I still think you go out there and draft somebody, but Sheriff, Zeitler, Mahogany off the bench, yes, please. Then the next one is, well, the Lions need a receiver. I think they'll draft somebody. I think that's definitely going to happen. Here's an option that can come in at wide receiver 3 right away, make a huge difference, and I'm talking about Keenan Allen, the veteran, all-pro, Pro Bowl, future Hall of Famer. This guy has been a very good football player, can do a lot of different things for you in terms of positional versatility, can play in the slot, which he's mostly done in the last few years, but can also play outside. He's very good at it. In a wide receiver 3 role, you're kind of doing all of that. You're kind of doing everything. And Allen, every time has played against the Lions in the last 2 years, whether it was for the Chargers or for the Bears, he's just beat the heck out of the Lions defense. It's not like this guy is, over the hill and he's done. This is still a really good player. I think he could bring a lot to this team. And at 2 years, $24 million, I think that's a good enough deal. Again, I like Khalil Mack. You could probably set that up so maybe the next year is the void year or whatever. But this is another player that can help you win that Super Bowl in 2025 and just makes the Lions offense so much more dangerous. For the last guy, I had to throw a project player in there. I had to, and it's Trey Lance. Look, I know that everybody thinks this guy's a bust, and maybe he is. We don't really know. I mean, it certainly seems that way, but I think that there's a good. Let me start over again. The last guy is I got to throw a project in there, and it's Trey Lance. I know everybody thinks this guy's a bust, and he could be. It certainly could be. But I think this is somebody who's had to bounce around between 2 teams already, has had different coordinators every single year. Just it's been so different for him. He has yet to have any semblance of continuity, or it just he hasn't really had a chance to do anything yet either. So I think you bring him to Detroit, where you have his former offensive coordinator Tyler Roll on the coaching staff now. You have 3 former NFL quarterbacks in Mark Brunell, Bruce Gradkowski, and Marcus Tuiasosopo. You've got Dan Campbell. You've got John Morton, 2 guys who have helped rebuild Jared Goff's career. I think that you put all this around him, this unbelievable support team, and maybe you can at the very least, get a backup quarterback who's 24 years old, significantly younger than Hendon Hooker already, who's going to be 28 next year. I just think it's a better idea. And if the Lions do those 7 moves to us, that is the perfect offseason. Let me know what you think in the comments below.